Good afternoon. There we go. It's the right input. Jeff was hearing me. Nobody else was. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. It is June the something, 23rd, 2022. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. Glad you could make it here today. If it's your first time, bless you. We talk about video games, movies, television, penis jokes. Sometimes movies and television with penis jokes, if you're lucky. And everything in between. Got another great show lined up for you today, and hopefully it can be mildly entertaining. But before we start, I have a very important question to ask this week, as in all weeks. Mr. Black, how was your week?
It's been a week. COVID is
slightly
running through
different.
my house.
Yeah.
So it's a COVID week. Yeah, I'm over COVID now. For the most part, I mean, I feel fine. My voice is back. I don't have a sore chest. I'm not getting the night sweats. My back ain't sore. I don't have
These are
headaches.
all good things.
So yeah, I feel pretty good. Like the odd cough, like super odd. Like I think I coughed maybe 3 times today. Just like, oh, okay. That was pretty much about it. So, I mean, I'm fine. I'm testing negative now, too. So this is the first day that... yesterday, my test was, like, very, very faint. I find, like, the more sick you are, like, the more prominent those lines are. It's like...
That's what it is. That's like, it's literally,
yeah.
it's so, like, if you have, like, a really fine line, the viral load in whatever you dropped in is low, and then if it's, like, punching you in the face, or it looks like the same fucking color, this is one on the other side...
Yeah,
you got some COVID in there.
Yeah, so that was pretty much me. Like the first few days, it was like in your face, like, oh shit. And then the last few days, it was just progressively getting fainter and fainter. Yesterday, it was like barely there. And then today, now it's gone. So
good.
Kayla's got it now. So she's, I think she's probably at like the worst now. She was feeling it the last like 3 days. And then today is like, hey, you definitely have COVID. So yeah, hopefully she starts feeling better tomorrow. Kai's fine. No symptoms. Not testing positive. So hopefully we'll keep it like that. But yeah, outside of that, that's been pretty much my week, to be honest. I got to
Not
stream
much
a
else
couple
you get
of
to
times.
do. Yeah.
No, I got to stream a couple times. Both of which I was semi-salty because I was just like, uncomfortable and tired.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I took today off just to take Kai out for a walk and spend, let Kayla rest as much as I could. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get back to something tomorrow, because I've literally taken just an unholy amount of time off this month. Like
you'll never possibly financially recover from this month. It's impossible.
I'll be all right. But yeah, it just feels weird, man. It just feels weird. And the more time I take off, like the more I don't want to work. It's
like anything. You form habits, right? It's your daily routine. So whatever your daily routine becomes, whether it's working for long periods of time or working at all, and if you switch off to not working, then yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, fuck work.
Yeah. So so that's been my week. It's been a COVID week, but I mean, it could be worse. Like everybody could be like really sick. So
true.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
True. Yeah. No, that's a big bonus. Getting it blows, but the best hope is that it's mild-ish, and then doesn't last for a long period of time. I know when it went through my cousin's household, it hit my uncle like a fucking freight train, and then my aunt was just kind of probably relatively similar to what you guys are experiencing, but it hit my uncle like a fucking truck. And then my cousin was also kind of neither here nor there, but his girlfriend hit her like a truck. And they're both like they're like both like the fitness. I mean, he's a phys ed teacher and she's like the fucking like super wealthy family, so she has lots of time to just be healthy and exercise all the time. So they're both like but again, one got hit barely and the other got hit like a truck. And just you never know what you're gonna get. It's like the Forrest Gump box of fucking chocolates. You just kind of get it, and whatever happens, Jesus take the wheel. But I'm thrilled that everything over there is good and mild as one could hope for. Best case scenario is Kai miraculously.
Yeah, that's I've had a couple of friends that families had it, and the youngest didn't end up getting it. So, or the youngest may have had it and just had absolutely like no.
It's unlikely that they're not getting it. It's more like they're just not getting symptomatic.
So he's fine. He's fine. I'm just ready to eat food, man, because like I'm withering. My body is like withering away, bro. Like it's I'm down to like 169 pounds, which is like
no.
It's weird, man, because I'm usually 175, like just walk around, and then like if I'm overweight, I'm like 185, 187. I'm like 169, like my clothes are feeling weird. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, whoa, I haven't seen this shape in years. So I just need to eat some fucking food.
I'm in the opposite direction, so don't worry. I'm making up for everything that you are not eating.
Yeah,
I'm there. Today was like I'm doing like the least healthy thing. Like I woke up, I had like indigestion last night. I ended up having one of those nights where I slept in like an upright position the whole fucking time. I got up today, and I didn't even want to look at food because like it was just like a long night where your stomach's fucked up, and so I had like almost nothing to eat. And that's just how I'm going to lose my weight, is just eat almost nothing. Most normal people would just, reduce the amount of, change what you're eating, eat healthier. No. A bowl of cereal, a banana, and mow the fucking lawn. That was my solution.
That's been my life for like 8 months, where I'm just scared to eat food because I'm like, it's going to fuck my stomach up.
Yeah,
no gluten,
of course.
No dairy, no nothing. Like, going out and be like, oh, I can't eat that, but I'll have that without the bread. Next thing I'm just eating like a patty with nothing but lettuce and ketchup, and it's just. And then
you get like a weird relationship with food too, where like you just like food's not fun anymore. When I was younger, you'll remember my stomach was just fucked. All through our teen years, and that was my like relationship for food for like 4 years or so. I hated food. I didn't want to look at food. I didn't want to eat food because every time I was going to eat something, didn't matter what it was, fucked. I was I was the kid that you'd be at somebody else's house, they'd pour like some pop in a glass, and I'd be like, can I have a spoon to stir this to get the fucking carbon out of it so I don't die? That'd be awesome. So it does. It sucks. It changes your relationship with food, but thankfully, you seemingly have at least the building blocks.
Now. Oh yeah. I'm feeling a lot better now. So.
Yeah, for sure.
I might take some risks soon.
I
might take some risks soon. I might get on the dairy next week. I was gonna do it this week, but then I got COVID, and I was like, okay, I don't want to have COVID and deal with stomach. So next week, I'm gonna like eat a little bit of dairy, see what happens, and then and if nothing happens, I'm gonna eat a little bit more dairy, and I'm gonna see what happens.
Maybe ease into it. You ever like the lactate pills, but just take one instead of two, and then do that for a few weeks, and then go whole hog.
Yeah.
And see if you blow your toilet up. Yeah.
See what happens. Yeah.
I see that you've also upgraded your artwork for Father's Day.
Yeah. Got a little photo there, and
I have to say that, in that picture, Kai looks like your father.
Really?
He looks older than you in that picture, and I understand why, because he's got like these little boy cheeks, and when you do artwork like that, it just makes him look like he's like 87 years old.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I see it.
You still got the hair though. That's the important part. The important part. You gotta get that like Jerry curl. Have you done that yet, just for fun?
No,
Have you pulled something down yet? Oh,
not yet.
It's got to happen eventually, sometime. My week was less eventful in that we didn't even do a heck of a lot at the house because Dad was away down to the family home to open that up for the season and do some yard work and whatnot. We did do some stuff at the house. We painted, so the entire apartment is now painted, walls, ceilings, 2 primer, 1 top coat. Any paint that tells you 2 coats is a fucking lie. It doesn't exist. It's bullshit. And what's even crazier is Bear is out here trying to tell the world that they got a 1 coat paint.
Nah.
Nonsense.
Nah.
Literally never gonna happen.
It's never 1 coat. It's never.
Dude, the wall color that we covered up was a blue I mean, not like your shirt blue, but it was like 90s blue. You know what I mean? Like sky baby blue kind of deal. Not that dark. And we did, in one spot in the bathroom, Dad did 3 primer coats before putting 2 top coats on to cover the blue up. And like you would have thought that, like, remember this room when I was younger, I was crazy in my teens, I painted it like just this side of black. It was so dark down here. And it was down here, we had to put as much paint in the walls over there as we did over here to fucking cover up this dark ass room. So I don't know what they're putting in paint these days, but they need to fucking fix it, because that shit's crazy. We put paint everywhere, so it's looking good now. It's way brighter, even though it is a light blue before. It's now like a white-ish, and it looks much nicer, much bigger. Lots more light gets in. We did the same color on the walls and the ceiling because it was white anyway, and eggshell. So it's just enough of a sheen, throws light around. The ceilings down there are a full 8 feet, so you don't feel like you're in a basement, which is nice. We had the HVAC guy come over and do the balancing of the system. He finally came over to do that. It was basically balanced the moment he turned the machine on. So he said, I don't know what the fuck you guys did, but you did something right. Didn't have to do anything. He fucking diddled the damper on the left like a little bit and was like, all right, we're done. Have fun, and just left. And that was the show. So that was good to get done. It means now that when we're done the stuff upstairs or whatever in terms of like sanding or any major work with paint, we can finally turn the HVAC on and start like circulating air through the house instead of having to rely on opening all the windows and trying to get fresh air through the house. So that got done. As well, we started working on the oven that we're putting downstairs, which was the one that was upstairs. It's perfectly fine, but for whatever reason managed to get some rust in a couple of spots. I don't know what the hell you even do to get rust on an oven, but they found a way to do it. It's on the exterior. The interior looks like they've never put a single piece of food inside the oven. They just used the top. So the inside's basically brand new. The outside was not. And so we pulled that apart to clean up the glass and everything else. Sometimes like the older an oven gets, the more likely it is that some random piece of fucking liquid somehow gets between the 78 layers of glass at the front of the fucking oven, and it's no longer surface liquid anymore. Now you gotta pull the whole door apart to go like sheet by sheet and find the fucking liquid underneath the glass so that when you turn the light on to check your food, you're not just looking at like a cum stain from 1974 right in the middle of the window. So we got rid of that and cleaned that up and fucking got it ready to paint. We got some trim clad, and that will be a 3 or 4 year job if we're lucky in terms of keeping that oven going before we have to replace it and spend another $1,000 fucking dollars on another appliance. His fridge showed up and everything, so the apartment is getting real close now, which is kind of exciting because it means we'll finally be able to go back upstairs and start working on stuff up there. We've got some flooring to put in that shouldn't take too long, and seal up the wall and put a hot water tank in, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got an apartment. The guys for the windows will be here in July at some point and put the 2 windows in. But yeah, it was exciting and got that done, but then Dad, had some other things to do, and so he went to do that. And Father's Day, I told him to take the day off. Clearly, it was a nice enough day. Put his feet up and have some beer and relax, and so did that. And yeah, that was pretty much the time since we last did the podcast, more or less. And now, yeah, I thought I had something else to say, but my brain it's gone. Like my hair, it disappeared. Time to talk about video game news, Mr. Black. You ready to talk about video game news? Of course you are. I can see it. It's written all over your face. You've been dying to watch me talk about video game news for 2 weeks now. Great news. I'm going to give it to you right here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Great news for those who have stuck it out for 2 years with Warcraft 3 Reforged, Mr. Black. You're not one of those people, but there are some. At least a few. Maybe a dozen. Patch 1.330 is finally going to bring ranked and unranked play, leaderboards, player profiles, etc. The shit that should have launched with the game. Wait. It's there. Took them 2 years, but it's there. So for the 12 people, great news, you will now be ranked. 2 of you will unfortunately have to be outside of the top 10, so that sucks. But everyone else, congratulations, you're now a top 10 Warcraft 3 Reforged player in the world. Give yourself a pat on the back. Now you can show all of your friends and create a profile. just like it's 2004. Sonic Frontiers, the most confused Sonic title I've ever seen since Sonic became a werewolf, apparently takes 20 to 30 hours to beat, or twice that to achieve 100%. I'm not exactly sure I would want to look at that open world for 60 hours, but I have seen that, like many things, if you're a fan of something, you'll play anything. Sonic Frontiers literally looks like one of the shittiest games to be released in the last 5 years, and there are still a pocket of people that are fans of Sonic that are chomping at the bit to run around whatever the fuck that world is. Have you seen a video or anything of that yet, like pop up on social media?
I think I did. I'll double check, but
they did like the classic put Sonic on top of a mountain looking out over a valley, you know, the Breath of the Wild shit.
Yeah, I think I did see that on Twitter.
Yeah,
yes,
and then
and
then when you look out, there's like in the background some it's popping in, but it's not fully drawn yet, like some weird like fucking loop-de-loops and shit that you'd see in a normal Sonic game. But this time it's floating nebulously in the sky, not attached to anything. Yeah, so anyway, they're trying. Once again, they're probably going to have to hire a bunch of fans to come in and help them make the game actually worth playing if they decide to go that route. But this is par for the course for the Sonic folks, and I wish them all the best in whatever the fuck they're making over there. Great news from Activision Blizzard, though, Mr. Black. Phenomenal news this week coming out of the AB. As the board has discovered absolutely zero evidence that it ignored harassment claims and that all media reports on the matter are without merit. This is, of course, after the board themselves investigated themselves. And as one Mr. Austin Powers once said, allow myself to introduce myself. But I'm glad that they found that they did no wrong. You ever accidentally murder somebody and then tell everyone, like, you didn't do it? I looked into it, and I did not kill that person. As it turns out, it was definitely not me. Great! Case closed! We did it. Everyone go home.
You could probably pull an OJ at the end and then release a book called If I Did It. If I did it, this is how I would have done it. But I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, though. No, definitely not. Even more great news from AB this week, as CEO Bobby Kotick was reelected to the board for another year. Woo! Let's go! Bobby's back! One more race around the sun before Microsoft sends him home with a golden parachute. Wouldn't you know it? But the 10th anniversary celebration for Dragon's Dogma, we talked about this last podcast we did there. The 10th anniversary was coming up. And we waxed poetic about how it could quite possibly lead to a sequel of Dragon's Dogma, given Dark Souls has become so popular as a genre, that kind of punishing open world RPG. Well, as it turns out, there is. They announced it. Dragon's Dogma 2 is on the way, and much rejoicing was had. I'm interested in, I have this in my notes here, I'm interested in what it will be like, given the genre has changed since Dark Souls' popularity. So when this first one came out, you know, Demon Souls and Dark Souls and stuff was kind of like infancy, but the genre is very firmly planted now, and there's definitely formulaic bits and pieces that make it up that people expect in a certain level of quality, to say the least. And the first go-around for Dragon's Dogma, while good, was a bit disconnected, a bit weird, a little bit of a cult classic, if you will. Not necessarily a mass market appeal type situation, despite the anime and some other things that they did being relatively successful. But I hope it does well. I think it will. I think if they do take some more cues from the Dark Souls games that have given them a fucking blueprint for like a decade now, you can take some of that and put together a really great game. Some people argue that some parts of the combat from the original Dragon's Dogma are actually better than Dark Souls. And I think a lot of that is probably because, if I'm not mistaken, you could actually like interact with a boss in such a way that you were like climbing on the bastards, almost not quite Shadow of the Colossus level, but similar, where there was a lot more interaction with the boss instead of just like side strafing, waiting for a swing, fat roll, and then hoping for the best. It wasn't quite to that standard. It was a little bit more involved, if I remember. I did play a little bit of it, but it's been so long. So if they can improve upon, great. And I'm hoping that they pull it off. The only thing we know about it right now, other than the fact that it's in development, we don't have release dates, even like a nebulous. It's the second time I've used that word today. Maybe I'll use it a third time. Not even like a 2025 or some like year. We have nothing. All we know is that it's being built on the same engine that Capcom uses for the more recent Resident Evil titles. Which is to say, if it comes out in, let's say, the next 5 years, it will probably be a pretty good-looking game, which is nice. And it would be interesting to see how that engine holds up in a different genre than Resident Evil itself, and whether or not that ended up being a good choice at the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see. A maker for a major cheat for Destiny 2, or hack, I don't know what you want to call it, the company or the handful of neckbeards in a building somewhere, Elite Boss Tech, has agreed to pay $13.5 million in damages after that lawsuit wrapped up. The cheat was apparently downloaded just under 7,000 times, meaning the fine is roughly $2,000 per download. Yike!
Well, they ain't getting that money.
Yike! Well,
they ain't never collecting that money.
Well, they if I'm not mistaken, they sold this cheat, so there was money made per download.
Now, did they make
$13.5 million? Probably not.
Probably
so
not.
They're not going to get it, and I don't know, and they're gonna get a sum of it. They're probably gonna bankrupt the fuck out of whoever is involved. Clearly,
of course, they're just gonna file bankruptcy. They ain't never getting that money.
And do that, but it is successful, which is always good. You know, we don't need a bunch of like. I feel like the moment that you can incorporate while making cheats for games, that's probably going a step too far. It's probably good that we can see some companies get a bit litigious and knock them down, because the moment you put a name to it like that, and not just some dude making some stuff that a handful of people make use of on a Counter-Strike server, I feel like you start hiring employees. You've maybe gone a step too far. Not that it's breaking any records just yet, Mr. Black, but Diablo Immortal, meme name, of course, that I've seen many headlines. Diablo Immortal, very clever, good writing, has managed to bring in $24 million in its first 2 weeks, which sounds like an awful lot of money, but it's kind of mediocre.
I don't think that's that much. I mean, it's a mobile game.
Yeah, it's not setting any, like I said, it's not setting any records. It's doing okay, doing better than most. I mean, $24 million in 2 weeks is not like, you're not going to hate making $24 million in 2 weeks, but at the same token, Diablo 3 in the first 2 weeks, I think, made like $200 million because it was a game that you had to buy outright. So the bet is, if this game is available for, let's say, 3 years and it keeps its pace, well, it will likely make more money than Diablo 3 did as a standalone title that they would have sold. However, for comparison's sake, in the mobile market, just to give you an idea of where it might rank amongst some of the heavy hitters in that market, Genshin Impact, who is the top dog in this in mobile right now, made $567 million in the first 3 months of this year.
Damn.
It's basically it's ever since it's released, it's held more or less $1 billion every 6 months. And I don't know for sure, but they say that's just the mobile portion. I don't know if that extends to the PC, PlayStation, what have you, because it exists on those platforms as well. So I don't know if that's all inclusive. Either way, even if it wasn't, who gives a fuck? $1 billion every 6 months is pretty good. So that's the kind of thing that they're going. Now, clearly, I don't think that Blizzard had it in their mind that they were going to make $500 million every 6 months, or even every 3 months. Certainly with this game, I'm sure they're probably relatively happy with their 24 million. Some of that, of course, is possible because a whole bunch of creators that can write this shit off for content purposes are doing the whole, I'll take the fall for you guys out there in YouTube land, and I'll spend money to see just how much you have to spend in order to be successful in this game. That old fucking bag. So one YouTuber in particular, for example, that I saw pop up in the midst of all of this, got their first 5 out of 5 star gem after spending, and this is in New Zealand dollars if I'm not mistaken, 25,000. So that's about the same in Canadian. You could equate that more or less, which means in American right now that's what, 19 or 20 million dollars, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Because I think
it's like 19 or 20 million.
Oh, sorry, 19 or 20. No, sorry, 19 or 20. Sorry, my brain, 19 or 20,000.
Yeah.
19 or 20,000.
Yeah. What, 25? Yeah, 25K. Yeah, about 9.
Because I think we're sitting at about 80 something
it's
cents.
About 19. It's about 19.
Yeah. So
it's more than that. It's like 30 cents to the dollar right now.
Isn't it? I thought our dollar was worth about 80 cents right now.
It's
did it drop again?
$100 is $77 US.
All right, so it's 23 on the dollar less. Okay. That's still high for us, by the way. That's not great news for Canada, but inflation, it's a thing. So yeah, anyway, that's how much for that. That's one gem, by the way. 1 5 out of 5 star bad boy. There is some good news, though, as I believe the first recorded person to beat the end boss in Diablo Immortal without spending any money, any real money, just happened this past week. So it is possible. You too out there can make it happen. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Or, just don't install this game at all, because it's basically Diablo 3, except Diablo 3 is better. So just play Diablo 3. I'm pretty sure you could find a way to xCloud or some shit, play Diablo 3 on your phone, for fuck's sake. Just go that route. Speaking of which, what was that? Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot to read my own notes to make this segue make any sense. I was saying this $500 million or whatever that Genshin made in the first three months of this year is exactly why mobile monetization schemes will likely continue to leak into non-mobile games, as we've been continuing to see over time. And speaking of which, and this is where that segue now makes sense, Overwatch 2 going free to play, they have now confirmed that it will be removing loot boxes in favor of battle passes because of the free to play move. Although I do also believe that this is part and parcel with them attempting to dodge some of the fire that was coming their way in Europe and other countries over the loot box thing being considered gambling. We covered that there was like a 2-year period of this podcast almost where Europe was going in on loot box stuff. So it's a 2 birds 1 stone situation for them, but that is what you can continue to expect, because for as long as mobile games can be made and have any benchmark, much like in movies, I suspect, if you see Marvel making $1 billion, like every movie they put out is $1 billion, and then all of a sudden, if you're making a blockbuster, nobody's going to want to give you money unless they think it will make $1 billion. Like $800 million, that's not good enough. It's got to hit that $1 billion mark. And so in the mobile games market, they're like, you see Genshin Impact, 500 schmil first 3 months. Can you do that? No? Tough shit. And so, like, if you're looking at games as they are now, like you saw Battlefield 2042, which we'll talk about here in a second, and they've gone live service, now you know why. They're trying to merge the 2 worlds, mobile with non-mobile, to make this crazy amount of money. And I'll skip ahead to that since I just talked about it, but DICE came out of their bunker this week to announce that they have no interest in doing anything other than working on and improving Battlefield 2042. And they said that it hurts them that their fans are disappointed. And I'm saying here, God fucking speed. I don't think there's been more than 4 people working on that game until now, and maybe they're just like dumping a bunch more resources on it. But Mr. Black, if you were heading up over there at EA and you were looking at Battlefield 2042 and how that's been going, and how the last couple of times at BAT have been going, are you going to continue to dump a bunch of resources to try and salvage 2042, or do you just accept that maybe this path was not the one that they should have taken and try something else?
You know what? I'm gonna just think outside the box here. I'm gonna say I agree with their decision.
Oh, okay, but why?
The game will fail. I mean, it's already failed.
Yes.
they're not. But I think this play is damage control play. I think if they can, game is dead. And if they can at least make a competent dead game and say, hey, yeah, we were disappointed with how we launched this thing, but we made it good. Obviously, people were turned off and a lot of people didn't come back, but it'll at least show the world that like they're capable
Yes.
of fixing a game and making a competent Battlefield, so that the next time they announce the inevitably next Battlefield, that they can say, hey, listen, we know where we messed up. We made the game good. We know what we need to do this time around. We've listened, and we have proof of concept. If they just kill this thing and pretend it didn't happen, and then they announce another Battlefield in 2 years, they're fucked. They're fucked. I mean, they're probably fucked anyway, but like this is their only saving grace. It's their only chance. So, like, I'm not angry at this decision. I mean, what do we want DICE to do? We want DICE to like run out and make another Battlefield.
Well,
now.
No. Well, I would let it. I feel like I don't disagree. I'm just. How do you? My concern would be how do you walk the line between the hard line between attempting to rebuild something that is salvageable versus the sunk cost fallacy of we've already put so much into this, we might as well keep going. And that's a real fine line. Holy fuck, is it ever a fine line? And honestly, it's probably the biggest question that when answered by a, let's say, a lead designer or well, not even lead designer. Let's just say, let's make it business terms and not just gaming. The CEO of a company making the call on that is what separates the men from the boys or the women from the girls. Because ultimately that is the hardest question when a product is not just coming out of the gate firing on all cylinders, is where is the line where we stop investing in turning this around and accept that we have our losses versus continuing to dump money into it because it's that sunk cost, slippery slope type shit where you just keep funneling money in and then you have to cancel it eventually. It's just that you waited too long and now you've wasted even more money. That's a hard question. And sometimes there's a bit of luck involved in that. And I think 2042 might be a little bit of that. They've got a steep hill. I would love to see them do it because I think the market needs more competition right now. There's not a huge stroke in the upper echelons of the online FPS shooter, especially in a battle royale kind of environment. There's a couple of heavy hitters, and then everything else has just kind of fallen to the wayside. So it'd be nice to see them pull it off, but I don't know. They've got to now go up against, by the time, like, let's say they fix something or they fix it, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means to fix it. Well, now they got to go up against Warzone 2, which is launching like next year.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is that when they fix it, I don't think they're fixing it in hopes that the game blows up again. I think that they're fixing it to show everybody that like we can actually make. Yeah, they're capable of making a competent game. So the next time,
right,
they make a game, people can't say, "Well, fucking Battlefield, whatever, which one this is, 1942 or something."
2042.
I don't fucking know, bro. At this point,
add 100 years.
Like, exactly, right? So, when they inevitably make this next game, they can at least say we fucked up. But now this game is very good. In fact, we've got this little promotional thing going on right now. If you jump into this game and you're playing this, etc., maybe you're unlocking something for the next game, or if you want to know what we're doing and how it's going to feel, go play this new iteration, because I know you guys aren't playing it now. I don't think this has anything to do with sunken costs. I don't think this has anything to do with diminishing returns. I think it has to do with repairing your reputation as a competent game maker, because this ain't it. If they let this die, I mean, they could go and spend another $20 million on fixing this game, just throwing a number out there, right? Just say 20, we'll say 20 million. You spend $20 million patching this game up, making it good, and their return on that 20 million might be 3 million, right? They know they're going to lose the money. But that 20 million might actually equate to 50 million by the time they make this next game if they can't prove they actually can make a fucking Battlefield we're playing, because this is just bad. This one is just really, really bad. And there was a lot of hype around this game. People were excited for it, and they let everybody down, bro. They just let everybody down. And you can't blame COVID. You can't blame any of those fucking shit. Game was dog shit. So this, in my opinion, I could be wrong. They might actually think they can make the competent game make money. I mean, okay, but it ain't going to work. So I think that they know that. And this is their Hail Mary to like save what little reputation they have left.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's basically like you almost have to look at it like it's marketing budget.
100%.
Right,
100%.
you're spending money that you don't really know that you're necessarily going to get back in full, but you have to do it anyway, because if you don't, then the repercussions for not having that out there are worse than having not not done it at all.
Done it at all, exactly. Yeah. And I think that like the money that they're going to spend to fix it is definitely going to be worth it if they want to continue to make games
that people will buy.
Right? That'll have any type of marginal success, but we'll see.
We'll see. All the power to them. I mean, God fucking speed. Like I said, both of us were big fans of Battlefield for years. So like it's not like we're not looking for an opportunity to maybe enjoy some more Battlefield again, but 2042. Woo! Yikes. Yeah. It was a tough one. That was a tough one to take.
It's a bad one.
KOTOR 2 on the Switch. That sounds like a good match right there. Great game, good platform. Take that, play it on the go. Seems like a great pairing. Unfortunately, you can't currently finish the game due to a bug. Everyone gets to the same spot in the game and oops, can't get any further. That's a bit of a problem. Aspire, which is the company that is in charge of this on the Switch, has stepped in and said, hey, we know about it. We're working on it. I haven't heard anything else other than that. So there's been some people I think that I've seen say that they did figure out weird fucking crazy workarounds to get past this point and continue on. But in general, for the average person buying and playing the game, it's fucked. So if you've been thinking about it, maybe wait it out. Keep an eye out near to the ground on how that patch is going, and then get in if you're going to get it on the Switch that way. I mean, if you have any other platforms, if the Switch is the only platform that you can play it on, then that's one thing. That shit's available on a bunch of platforms, and you can enjoy it anywhere else. And you should. It's a good game. It was one of the first games that I remember that I was sad about because they halted development because they wanted to just push the game out when there was a whole segment of the game that just never ended up making it to the final cut, which was eventually added back with mods and stuff later on down the road, which you can still enjoy on the PC today. But yeah, Switch, rough, careful, wait for a patch on that, otherwise you're going to be hard stuck for a while. Final Fantasy XVI info was released this week because Final Fantasy had an anniversary week, kind of a celebratory deal where we found out a bunch of stuff about a bunch of things. And one of those was Final Fantasy XVI, which is, is in my eyes, for the type of Final Fantasy that I want to consume, Final Fantasy 16 is probably the closest thing to a game that I want to play in the Final Fantasy universe at this point. I appreciate 14. I think it's phenomenal, but it's just not my thing. And I'm looking forward to maybe 16 being the thing that brings me back into the fold. Some of the info that we got is I want to say that this is pronounced Icon, or which is the summons, of course, that as Jeff and I would have called them as kids. Battles, so the Icon battles are playable with multiple stages. We had something similar to this in Final Fantasy 15. I suspect it's a little bit more of an elaborate version of what we had in 15 in terms of these summons or icons in this instance. Clive, which I have in my notes, LOL that name, because holy shit, how did we get all the way down to the protagonist in Final Fantasy being called Clive? I feel like that sounds like, Clive sounds like a plumber. Doesn't really sound like a Final Fantasy character. You get Cloud, Squall, you get all these hard sounding fucking names like Vincent. All these character names were great, and then all of a sudden, Clive! Anyway, Clive will be playable at various stages in his life. This is sounding an awful lot like back when Peter Molyneux was hyping up Fable, except it will probably be doable. Remember back then, Peter standing up on the stage being like, In Fable, you're gonna age, and you're gonna, whenever you take a sword swing, you're gonna have a scar later in life, and your hair goes gray and shit. And then you played the game, and Chuck Testa. I suspect they'll actually deliver on this, though, but you'll be playing as teenage Clive, 20s, where you have your quarter life crisis, and then into your 30s, where you just stop caring about everything. Great, you'll be able to play across that whole spectrum as Clive. The game is also going to be rated M for mature, which is promising, because fuck a Final Fantasy game that looked like that was going to come out rated T for teen. That's like trying to watch Deadpool at teen. It's just not the same thing. It doesn't hit the same way. Or Wolverine, for that matter. Different animal altogether. And that's all we've got for video game news this week, Mr. Black, which means it's time to sell out and tell everyone why NordVPN is the way to go.
Well, before I do, patreon.com/legtv, head on over there, throw some money at the screen, keep the podcast going, please. Yeah, do that. Then we've got NordVPN. You can go to nordvpn.com/OTT. Use the promo code OTT. You can also click the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. And get yourself a massive discount plus a bonus month when you get a tier subscription or more when you use that promo code. It's super easy to use. You can use it on basically any device, Android, iOS, PC, your laptop, your Mac, your phones, whatever. I mean,
you name it.
They basically got an app for virtually everything. And if they don't have an app, you can actually hook it up to your router. So
yes.
You can basically have everything.
Canvases the whole bitch.
All of it. So you only need one account per household, because you can actually use 6 simultaneous devices at once before they're like, hey, get yourself a second subscription. But who needs more than 6 at a time?
Who's having more than that many kids these days, Mr. Black?
Well, I mean, technically, you could hook it up to your router and use that as one connection, and then you could still use 5 other connections. So, really, I mean, the possibilities are endless, all right? But you know what isn't endless? Predators on the internet, and they're going to try and take your information, okay?
Well, they are a bit endless, actually.
They definitely are endless.
Yes.
You know what stops them? NordVPN.
Okay.
Mask your IP. You can do it when you're at your own home, if you're at public Wi-Fi, wherever you are. I mean, when I was traveling to Spain, hooked up to my NordVPN. Actually, when I was in Spain, I got 2 referrals while I was in Spain, because people were having problems. I'm like, hey, you got to get yourself NordVPN. Use the promo code OTT. What do they do? Hey, they got themselves NordVPN, and they use it the whole time. So it works, guys. It works. My dad uses NordVPN. All right, it's that easy. It's literally clicking one button. You can also, not only for protection, but you can watch different streaming services or different regions of a streaming service. So, for example, if you're watching Netflix in Canada and you've burnt out of all the good content on there, which isn't hard to do nowadays with Netflix, you can mask your IP to the US, and then now you have access to all of the US content on your same account. It's really that simple, because in different regions of the world, they have different licensing deals. And so there's different content, shows, movies, on these different platforms. And it's not just Netflix. So that in itself, when it's the price of a few bucks a month, which is like less than a coffee a month, it's a no-brainer. It just opens up all that extra content for you. Plus, when you're on the internet, you don't want to deal with any of those, hey, this is region blocked. You can't watch this Fox clip of
you just watched it on your TV on cable that you pay for in your living room, but on the internet?
No,
impossible.
You can't do it. But with NordVPN, you literally click one button, refresh the page, and there it is. You can watch it. So go check them out. Use the promo code OTT. It's a great way to support yourself, us, and the sponsor. They've been holding it down. They're our only sponsor. So whenever you're in the market for a VPN, think NordVPN and think that promo code OTT, and it directly helps us. That's it.
Incredible. And now it's time for
movies and TV.
As it turns out, there's a limit to how many laws you can break in Hawaii, Mr. Black, before the DCU will can you. I thought at first, just like Predators Online that NordVPN can stop, I thought Ezra Miller was going to be able to get away with literally anything in Hawaii for the next 15, 20 years, and that bitch just wasn't going to be stopped. Well, finally, the DCU said you can only slap one too many locals before we have to step in and do some shit. Ezra, what the fuck you doing down there? And so they said after this upcoming Flash movie, which is yet to be released, and God knows, maybe that's going to have to maybe change if he doesn't smarten the fuck up too, he's gone! Just as fast as he was in as the Flash, he is out, and somebody else will replace him. Honest to God, there was like 1 or 2 weeks where every second day there was a new Ezra Miller did some crazy shit in Hawaii post that I saw, and it just was never ending. It just over and over and over again. Like the guy would go to jail overnight, be released, and then the next night doing some shit again. He's out there fucking doing some shit. I don't know why, but. He's going through some stuff. Clearly, maybe he needs to get some help, and hopefully he does. But he won't be the Flash for much longer because he's gone too far. Canada's big boy theater chain Cineplex has introduced a $1.50 booking fee for tickets purchased through its mobile app or website, citing the need to invest more in their digital infrastructure. There are exceptions, though, to this new fee. The tickets bought at location, so actually at the kiosk in the theater, won't be subjected to said fee. Members of Scene Plus pay $1 instead of $1.50. Let's fucking go. And if you're a bougie Cineclub member, you don't have to pay anything either. It's waived. You're up on that Cineclub height.
Oh, well,
the 15 people in Cineclub not paying that $1.50. This just sounds like a really kind of weird and poorly executed upsell tactic to get into something like their Scene Plus or Cineclub. I don't know. And it's also, I think, in combination for the people that actually give a fuck about $1.50. It's either free money or it forces people to want to buy their tickets at the concessions or at the kiosks, which probably in their mind increases the chances in which people are going to spend money at the concession stands while they're buying their tickets.
They're obviously paying some sort of fee for the transaction, etc., and they want you to pick up the tab.
They want you to be the one covering it. Yeah,
that's pretty much it. So, yeah. Anyway, I mean, hopefully it does well. I got a bunch of money in Cineplex stock, so hopefully it does well. If not, whatever. I don't fucking care.
Michael J. Fox to be awarded an honorary Oscar for his contributions to film and his efforts to help cure Parkinson's disease. Great. It's overdue. That motherfucker has been working his ass off for his entire damn life. It's a good thing that he finally gets recognized by the Academy for it, for God's sake. And that's all I've got for those. Before we get to the last two topics here, which you can see on the notes there, Mr. Black, were there any other news-related things this week that you spotted that I missed?
I don't think anything worthy of talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty mild.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that means it's time for us to talk about the two movies that after you got the Rona, you had the time to sit down or lay down or whatever the fuck you were doing at the time and watch. And that is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah. And then the follow-up to that, Everywhere or Everything Everywhere All at Once. So let's talk about Unbearable Weight first. And then we'll move on to the other. So, how did you feel being immersed in Nicolas Cage for an entire movie? How did that go for you?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I liked it a little bit more than I thought I was going to. I figured I was going to like it. I mean, the cast is really solid. I figured I was going to like it, but I liked it more than I thought I was going to, for sure. It started off a little, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm like fully on board with this. I kind of see where it's going. It was very cliche. I didn't know anything about the movie. I think it's intentionally
cliche too.
But I just didn't find the movie funny until about, really
he hits the island.
Yeah, when he hits the island. And more specifically, when they take the leap off the cliff. That
was good.
That was when the movies got funny, you know.
Pedro finally baits him into acting, and he buys it,
and he does it.
Yeah,
and it was good. Like the music changes, you can see like he puts on his sort of acting face,
the overacting face,
and he's already acting because he's acting in a movie, but then he acts like he's acting in a movie, right? So it was really that. As soon as that scene happened, I was like, I'm sold. And then it was super fun from there on out. Very predictable. I though I will say, without spoiling too much, which I don't think people really care, but there was that one specific room.
Yes, that's supposed to be obvious.
I saw that coming, right?
Yeah,
I saw that coming. What I did think, though, what I thought was going to happen is I thought that the whole thing was going to be there was a point in the movie where it was like it was really was when the family showed up,
right?
And spoiler alerts a little bit here, guys, like nothing insane, but a little bit of spoils. Family shows up for whatever reasons, and from that point I actually thought that the mother and the daughter and Pedro, or whatever his name was in the movie, I forget his name, Jorge or something, I don't know what his name was. I don't even know if it was Jorge, but
I don't think it was.
I don't know why that
came
to my mind, but
I can't remember what his name was either.
I thought that they were in on all of it. Like I thought that they were all giving him sort of one more
crack at it.
I thought that it was going to be, because it was, the action was so, like, at points it was bad. And
of course. Yeah.
And so like I thought that it was bad for a reason, that they weren't really professional, like they weren't, you know. I just thought that, I don't know, like there was parts of it that felt real, and then there was other parts that it didn't, and some of the lines that were being said in there as well, that I was like, man, I think that everybody's in on this and he just doesn't know it yet. And at the very end, you know, when shit really goes down and people were just starting to get picked off, you know, I thought that they, like, the, you know, some of the side characters, when sort of they meet their end, I didn't think that they were actually gone. I thought that they were acting like they were gone.
Yeah,
you know? Because there wasn't like blood, and there wasn't like, and it's a rated R movie. You know what I mean? So like there was like one scene where somebody gets shot and there was a bit of blood, but it seemed very like action, like you know what I mean? Like and then they're like laying on the ground and there's no pools of blood and the music's a little weird, and I'm like, did that actually? Are they faking that? So I was like slightly disappointed that wasn't.
Well, I think they were like, I want to say that was kind of intentional though, because when you think about how they treated Pedro's character in terms of, is he or is he not the one at the, you know, the center of all of this happening? You know what I mean? Is he the bad guy? Is he not the bad guy?
Yeah.
So they've got that going on, and then that scene where he convinces him to jump off the cliff, and he's in acting mode, and they do various things, and you know that he's trying to pitch him a movie to begin with. I think part of the fun of the movie was them trying to constantly make you question whether or not what you were watching was like them doing the movie or not doing the movie.
Yes.
And so like I think but I understand what you mean. Like it was confusing, but I like, in my mind when I was watching I'm thinking, oh, this is part of the shtick. We're trying to sort out, is this really his movie or is it like really happening? And then like, because you knew at some point they were going to pull back or something in a theater.
Yes,
and they were gonna like, but you just didn't know when.
I didn't know when
was gonna happen.
I knew that something was along those lines was happening.
Yeah,
but I thought for sure that everybody, like, and I still thought that Pedro Pascal was a huge fan.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
had unlimited money, and so his family got with this guy to not only make his dream come true, but also
Yes.
put Nicolas Cage in his dream, you know,
Yes, yeah.
because he really wanted to still be a movie star, you know? And like, so I thought that they were creating this sort of real life fake movie for him and, you know, to be supportive of him. And so, but that wasn't necessarily the story, but it wasn't like super far off, but it was, yeah. Anyway, I really liked the movie. I just thought it was a lot of fun. It was like you could shut your brain off.
Oh, the drug scene was fantastic.
Oh, that was great with the wall.
The wall.
That was my favorite scene in the movie.
Even though you can kind of like, you know what that scene is going to result in.
Yeah,
It didn't matter. They fucking did it so.
Yeah, they sold it
so well. Like that was, I think, my favorite part of the movie was how, in a couple of scenes specifically for Nick, and then in almost every scene for Pedro, how dedicated they were to just fucking doing the shit, even though it was completely ridiculous. The commitment level was 100%. Pedro didn't show up to just have some fun and go home. That motherfucker, like, overacted the hell out of the whole movie. Nick overacted the fuck out of, like, the whole movie. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And definitely worth a watch. And it was like, it's just so, I think it's so poetic that this is the film that marks, in reality, like in the real world, it marks Nicolas Cage being done paying off all of his debts, having done all of these movies that they kind of like make fun of him for in this movie, having done like all this shit up to this point, and now he's finally paid all that off, and now he's just going to do movies that he actually wants to like do, and not necessarily just do movies to pay bills. Like it's...
Yeah, I mean, and he hits on it, right? Like he talks about it in the movie. Like he kind of clowns Hollywood, and he's like, "Dude, I just need a fucking paycheck. Why is everybody shitting on me for taking these dog shit movies? You know, I need." Yeah. Do I tell you that, you know, you shouldn't? It's like when I take a sponsorship deal, right? Like I got a sponsor thing that's coming up here in a couple days, and you know, some people are gonna look at it and go, "Dude, what the fuck?" And then, you know, my rebuttal is, "Well, it's my fucking job to make money, and you know, it's something I'm okay with. So, you know, do I go into your work and tell you what you should and shouldn't do?" But like, you know, at the same time, though, we're public figures and we put ourselves up for sort of that ridicule.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. It was like there was a lot of real in there in terms of like probably how he felt about his own career. Like you could totally see that like it was probably therapeutic for him to just like, you know, say some of the shit that he probably shouldn't say publicly, but it's in this format, he's able to do it and kind of hide behind that to a degree. But
he even broke. They even broke out like standard Nick and crazy Nick. Like they even even separated those two in their entirety.
Yeah,
and people probably already know. I guess I have to mention it. But he literally makes out with himself at one point. Yeah. And I was dying, laughing. It was so perfect. And it was made better because I had already been aware of the fact, because I had read the interview at GQ, where, and a couple of other interviews around that, it was his idea. The director was like, "Are you positive?" Nick was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do this." Because he was like, it was supposed to be somebody else, and he was like, Nick was like, "No, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to make out with myself."
Yeah, it's like my old video that I used to make with the toga, and I used to kiss myself at the end.
Yes, exactly.
You know? It sort of reminded me of the only travesty is this movie didn't even make $30 million, man. Like
no,
which I think it deserves a hell of a lot bigger. I mean, it only cost them $30 million to make. It made $28.5 million worldwide. This movie should have made more money. This was funnier than a lot of comedies. Like comedies aren't doing that well these days anyway.
Yeah.
And you see like a lot of comedies just going on Netflix and like Netflix.
But you gotta convince people to go to a theater to watch comedy now.
They could have sold this movie to like Netflix or something, and it probably would have done really well. And they probably will still go on some sort of big streaming service.
Yeah.
But I mean, the movie is funny. I would highly suggest, if you guys are a fan of Nick Cage or Pedro Pascal, or both, if you're fans of both, you should really see this.
Oh, for sure.
it's a good time. It was a good fun movie. I think it's going to do really well in streaming and do well on like airplanes and different.
I think that's where it's going to make all of its money. Is it's going to be like some movies that they just don't do much in a box office, and then they get to streaming, and all of a sudden they make their money there. I think that's probably where that's going to make its money.
But it was a good time. It was a good time. I think
what's your out of 10?
8.5 out of 10.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. It's a movie I'll only ever watch once, but it's a good time. It's a good time.
There's a lot of movies I'll only watch once, even if they're really good. You know, not every movie needs to be seen 15 times, but I'm happy I watched it. That's for sure. And now what I'm interested in, I mean, we already know that he's doing, he's doing Dracula or whatever, right?
Right now, yeah.
So what I'm interested in is now that we've hit this point in Nick Cage's career, what are we going to see out of him? We know Dracula's coming, and what roles is he going to actually choose? Because this is going to be this isn't going to be Nick showing up, you know, doing literally every single fucking role that gets placed in front of him. I think he'll probably still do some indie films. I think he likes doing indie films a lot. I think that's why you see things like Mandy and Pig and things along those lines. I think he actually really enjoys doing that kind of stuff. But I don't think you're going to see him be so prolific where he's just cranking shit out like fucking like all the time.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because he's been in some fucking bad movies over the last decade, right? So
terrible.
But the last few years has been a resurgence. So hopefully he just doesn't piss that away and go back to his crap that they pay him like, you know, $1 million to show up and say, you know, 20 lines in a movie. That's garbage.
Exactly. All right, and now to move on to a movie that I knew Jeff was going to like, but I didn't think he was going to like it as much as I saw him like it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Everything, Everywhere, all at once. All at once. So let's just get this out of the way right now. You should watch this movie if you're listening, if you haven't already. I'm just going to say, it's at the end of the podcast, really, before we get on to tech supports. I'm just going to say, there's going to be some spoilers here that you probably don't want to hear if you haven't watched it. So just check out. This is your checkout warning. You can't talk about this movie and not spoil it. It's impossible. So
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
So we'll just warn you now. Be careful. Skip ahead a bit. Godspeed. So how did you feel? I mean, just to start with it, how did you like it as a whole? What was your experience with the movie?
Well, I've seen it twice now.
Okay.
So I watched it first night and then watched it the next night. It is for sure in the top 3 movies that I've ever seen in my life. So, you know, I wrestle with giving, you know, I guess it really just depends on who I'm talking to about the movie and whatnot, or I'm like, I could bump it to number 1. But it's up there. So to say I liked it is an understatement of the year. It is the best movie I've seen in a very, very long time.
In what ways? So just as a whole, cinematography, like how, like in what ways is it?
So I mean, it's not like the cinematography. Well,
there's some crazy shots in that movie.
The lighting, and the editing. I think whoever fucking edited this movie is god tier.
A god, yeah.
It wasn't fancy. Like the film, it didn't look like Dune, right? Dune is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, ever. Like it
looked good for different reasons than Dune, right?
Yes,
like it looked the way it needed to look.
Yeah, it was, yes. And so, it's hard to even articulate how I feel about this movie. I thought the writing was extremely well done. I thought the fight scenes were well choreographed and unique.
Very Jackie Chan.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Environmental in nature and comedic.
In fact, Jackie Chan was on the short list to be the co-star of this movie.
Oh really? Oh well, there you go.
But they ended up getting the guy from Goonies.
Yep.
But who was amazing, by the way.
I think that's a better choice because he's way more unassuming than a Jackie Chan would have been.
But he had a very Jackie Chan type
swagger
swag to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
but he sold. I think he would have sold the heart more than Jackie Chan. Not saying Jackie Chan's a bad actor, but there's just something about the innocence of this character that I don't think Jackie Chan could have sold. I think Jackie Chan could have sold the martial arts maybe a little bit better, although this guy did perfectly
phenomenal.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, the characters. Here's the thing: this movie is a character-driven film. There are like 5 characters in this movie, maybe 6 that are like real characters, and they all get their shine. There is no random ass side characters that come in and come out because they're hopping through fucking, or going through different multiverses and universes and different things. It's the same people playing different versions of themselves and doing it seamlessly. It was a marvel. It was. I am still so blown away by not only how they filmed this movie, but they had 5 visual effects artists for this entire movie. 5 people. That's it. The budget was $25 million. 5 visual effects artists. And they did this. And the visual effects looked damn good. Yeah, it's not Endgame. It's not a Marvel movie. But more than good enough. Dude,
I when watching it, I wasn't thinking. At no point did I think to myself, "Oh, these visual effects are pulling me out."
Good. No, not once. Not once did I feel that. And I mean, I could tell that they didn't have all the money in the world, but they also used the money that they had just marvelously. It was insane. I still can't believe what they did. If you guys haven't seen this movie, you got to go see it. The premise is this: you've got a family that runs a laundromat, and they're having some tax issues with the IRS. So they're being audited. They're in debt, and then there's also some family dynamics. The daughter has got a girlfriend. They're Chinese, so the grandfather and the mother have a traditional outlook on life. Not necessarily saying that the mother disapproves, but she is scared to tell her father that her daughter likes the same sex because he is very traditional. And not only that is Michelle Yeoh, who is a goddess and will win an Oscar. And if she doesn't,
That'd be a crime.
I'll be with pitchforks fucking outside of whatever place they have, screaming, this is a travesty. This is impossible. So you've got seasoned actors and actresses. And so you're back at this family drama, and the main character, she has the weight of the world on her shoulders because it's how she was brought up. She feels it's her duty. She's trying to take on all of the burden of the family, and she even looks at things as if they're burdens all the time.
She's also justifying to her father and would-be mother, who I guess is past at this point, her decision to marry this guy and move to America.
Correct.
Ultimately, it's a justification. So all the weight of all the things that she needs to do to make that justification, everything is that, and that's her singular. If you've ever seen a character that's got blinders on, her blinders are 4 kilometers long.
That's it.
She doesn't see shit in any direction.
Yeah,
just directly in front of her.
She wants approval from her father badly. She wants to make her father proud, and then she also wants to show him that, like, hey, I didn't fuck up. Even though in her mind, she knows or she feels that she's fucked up her life. Like, it's almost like her father was right, and she doesn't want him to know that he was right about the decisions of her leaving China to go with this guy to America. And so she's trying to put on a face that the business is booming. We're doing well. Look at the success that your daughter made of myself, even though you basically told me that I was fucking up. And deep down inside, she doesn't have a great relationship with her daughter. The relationship with her husband isn't going great, and the business isn't going isn't going well at all. It's just she's going through a lot, and so so that's really what the story is about. The multiverse and all this other stuff is just a really
it's a vehicle for it.
It's a vessel to tell this story, and it's really about a family coming to terms with where they're at in life, who they are, and accepting that, and being in the present, and in appreciating what you have, is really what the story's about. But essentially, there is a different version of her that in a different universe
Her
that
daughter.
is a scientist.
And her.
She's a scientist, and she puts her daughter through a lot of these experiments because she wants her daughter to basically, be the best version that she can be. And she wants her to be sort of all-knowing and wants her to follow in her footsteps.
It's a science-y multiverse analog for her feelings for her daughter in the main line.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so, it goes wrong, and the daughter becomes the main villain of the film. But really, the villain is more of, it's really she's a villain, but she's not a villain. She's a villain.
She's a victim.
She's a victim. That's probably a better way of putting it, right? She's a victim of her family's circumstance. It's kind of like, if you're brought up a certain way and you develop a bad habit, right? Maybe, your parents were, I don't know, maybe your parents were a drug addict, and you end up taking drugs, and you have a drug problem. And so you're navigating life because it's what you know, it's what you've seen, it's what you've been through, and it's not necessarily your fault, but it's your reality. It's your circumstance. I know it's kind of a weird analogy to make, but it's kind of what happens here.
Yeah, well, at some point in this movie, it switches, like the thematically switches from being centered on the mother and it being about her, because it goes through the three phases, right? It's everything, then everywhere, and then all at once. It's like the three chapters. They literally post the shit on the screen when it happens, and the theme shifts a little bit each time depending on what pocket you're in. So everything, it's very mom focused, mom central. She's like, you see all the weight that's on her. Then everywhere, things shift, and the movie goes towards, in the midpoint, it builds up to the relationship between her and her daughter, also reminding her a little bit of what it was like between her and her father, and the mistakes that she is making for a second time, trying to avoid all that while still trying to make it work with her father. And then all at once, it all reunifies. They break it apart. They blow it apart. They examine all of the reasons why all this is happening, and then they unify it at the end. And like the theme becomes like, so there's an expectations on the mother, expectations of the daughter, expectations being placed by multiple people at multiple places, and then the end, literally, like as a almost like a literary device, they use subverting expectations to be the solution to bringing this all together. So she stops fighting directly, which is the expectation that's put upon her as the mom, and she subverts it with the cheesy to a degree, but accepting everyone. She's literally she walks up the staircase literally in an acceptance meme through everyone on the staircase.
She fought like her husband, right?
Yes,
and that was the whole thing. Is her husband's super passive, and he is in as much turmoil as she is, but in a different way. Yeah. And so he's a super caring guy that fights with kindness and love, and she's the one that, you know, she's got her, you know,
Brute force.
brute force, you know,
Yeah.
there's that scene where she has her hands like clenched and she just kind of just finally lets go. And, you know, the husband is, you know, pouring his soul out there. And even in the multiverse, where it's a different version of the husband, and he's like, he's still the same way. And, it's how he fights. And, you know, it's such a, and while all this is going on, guys, they're jumping between different multiverses, or they're channeling in on different minds of of different versions of themselves in different multiverses. So, for example, you would have to do something way out of the crazy, which was added to some of the fun of the movie and the wackiness of it, where, you know, somebody would have to, you know, staple something to their forehead in order to channel into another version of themselves, or you know, stick a plaque up their ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, just different crazy shit.
So when I looked at the back and she's talking and I looked behind her, I could see the Employee of the Month awards.
Yes.
I actually looked at Emma. I said, those are all butt plugs.
Yes.
Every single one of them. And then as it turns out, it's
were
exactly what they were.
Yes.
And like, yeah, this whole concept of in order to tap into the skills of another version of yourself in another timeline, you had to do something that occurred in that timeline to some degree, or a version of it to like trigger
Correct.
that to then draw back for a time. And one of them was like the Employee of the Month statue is an actual like fucking butt plug. And the guy gets like the information. You got to shove some shit up your ass in order to like bring this skill set that you need to make this fight happen. And this motherfucker like sumo drops from like the fucking like the
12
rafters
feet up in the air, and he just fucking lands on there, and then, you know, turns around and he's ready to fight, you know.
And the best part is that it's still hanging out of his ass the rest of the fight.
They've got it blurred, and like there's this crazy fight scene, and, you know, dude's got statue up his asshole, and then another guy comes in, he's got like a fucking bong or some shit up his asshole. It was crazy. So, you know, there's a lot of action in the movie. You know, they're like downloading martial arts, and, you know, very Matrixy.
It's very I think they like in a couple spots
they paid homage
directly
to
reference the Matrix.
They did it to many things.
Yeah.
I rewatched the movie, dude. It's the same guys that made the music video Turn Down for What? The Daniels. You know, there's that one scene where her daughter Joy
goes through the floor.
Yeah, and like plow drives the guy and breaks his neck. That was the same scene out of Turn Down for What, Dan?
Yeah, and it goes through the fucking ceiling.
Yeah. So, you know, they paid homage to many things. There was The Mask. They did a scene straight out of The Mask. They did a scene straight out of Matrix.
Yep.
They did a scene out of dude, there is like 10, 15 movies that they took parts of, and they paid homage to those. It was very creative. It was a great action movie. It was a great sci-fi type movie. It was a great family story drama. I actually just love it. It was all the small things, and when I went to go rewatch it again, there were so many things that I didn't see. You know, and like everything's on the everything bagel. It was just like very.
Well, that's like the whole, when they said the everything bagel, and Em was like, what the fuck is an everything bagel? And I was like, okay, so
and then he eats one in the,
he's in the scene, he's eating an everything bagel in the scene, and there's all sorts of like references to it. I mean, her hairstyle is literally in a bagel. Like,
there's so much stuff that looked like a bagel.
Loads. And they did so much, like you were saying about the budget. I don't think I know of any movie that's ever done so much with so little in the grand scheme of things. Like, that budget's tiny for the output that movie produced.
Yes.
I can't think of a single movie that I've ever personally watched that has done so much with so little, and at no point does it feel like a movie that had a budget that big. This felt like a movie with a way bigger budget, with top tier writing, top tier choreographers, top tier everything felt top of the line.
Blew me away.
But everything's so good. It
blew me away.
Good.
There is
so
the only, like, the small critique that I could give the movie, I thought it was a tad bit long. But outside of that, there's like maybe one or two scenes that could have done without. that I don't really think drove the story, but it was still fun to watch. Even with those scenes, I mean, it wasn't a problem for me because I ended up loving the movie. But yeah, I mean, it was just the attention to detail and just how smart the movie was. I mean, even in the very end where where she is fighting with kindness and kind of fulfilling everybody to get them to stop fighting each other, and the daughter is all angry and ready to fight her mother, and you know, she gets into the martial arts stance and she, you know, she opens up her
instead
arms.
of
the fighting stance, she
opens
said,
her arms up.
you know, come to mama, right?
Yeah.
And even in that fight, she wasn't fighting, she was just blocking and deflecting, and you know, the whole like, I'm your mother, and then, you know, it was just such an emotional roller coaster. You know, we're talking crazy.
They made me want to be a rock for a while.
Yeah, dude, it was just it was so good and so clever. One of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I could talk about this movie for hours.
You said on Twitter, now you got to backtrack. You said that it supplanted your favorite for your new favorite movie of all time. Are you saying now that it's kind of a battle in your mind between
I mean,
Dawn and or From Dusk Till Dawn?
It's better than From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
No, for sure. I really can't think of a movie that I like more than that right now. But there's so many great movies that I've seen over the years that like. I mean, I'm a bit high on this movie right now.
Yeah.
You know, I went and watched a whole bunch of videos on it, and you know, I'm just like, I'm just blown away with how amazing this film was. That like, I'm a little bit high on it. This will always be in my top 3 for the foreseeable future. And I think it's also just because I know that it was a small budget with very few people, and it just worked. And I saw Doctor Strange that probably had a $250 million budget, and that movie is absolute dog shit compared to this. It's not even like that movie's so forgettable and has no heart, and it's just fucking regurgitated Marvel crap compared to this, that it was like just sculpted.
It gives you hope that there's still like cinema that can be made now that's new and good, and not because we're living through the Marvel Disney era, right? Where everything is a formula, everything is like a $500 million budget fucking gong show that somehow still manages to get worse and worse visually as time goes on. And then you get this $25 million masterpiece that pops up.
Yes.
And you're like, look, you don't need to spend all that money to make a good movie that people want to fucking watch.
What an amazing, it's just
I hope it sparks more of that.
There
right?
has been. This has been a good year for movies, man. Like I saw Norseman as well. That shit
I watched that as well. Em and I watched that as well.
Yeah, that shit was fucking really good. I mean, that was a 90. I mean, it was a big budget Viking movie. It was $90 million Viking movie.
Yeah,
but it was different. It wasn't your standard commercial. If anything, I think probably people went in disappointed because it wasn't what they advertised. It was different for sure, but it was a good different. You know, we also got Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I mean, there's been some really good movies as of late, and I said that too. Like when COVID was going on, I said at the very least, hopefully, the fact that everybody's cooped up and doing nothing, that we're going to get some really good art. We're going to get some great music. We're going to get some great movies, some great TV, because people have all the time in the world to write, and everything's just come to a stop. And I think that we're starting to get some of that. So yeah, no, I loved it. It's a good movie. Everybody should go watch it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you haven't already, definitely watch it. And I agree. If she does not win an Oscar for this shit, if this movie doesn't borderline sweep, I'm going to be upset. But specifically, if she doesn't get her due for that, oh my god.
Oh man, it's insane how the range that I don't know how any of them done it. Like all 3 of the main stars, the daughter, the husband, the wife, all 3 of them
crushed it.
Like it's crazy. The different versions of themselves and the
IRS
emotions.
agent who I know her name and I can't.
That's
fucking...
what's her face, and she's a legend too.
I can't think of her name right now. I'm bad with names, but the moment I saw her, I was like, oh, she's gonna kill this fucking role specifically. It was just perfect.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, perfect casting.
Dude, all of them. They're amazing. So go run out and see this movie, please.
That's all we got for movies and TV, which means it's time to move on to
tech support.
Patreon.com/LagTV. It's the place to go if you want to financially support this podcast. Help these bad boys keep going. We're at episode 250. 250 of these sons of bitches. It's pretty good. You want to keep that going? You want to make that a bigger number? Patreon.com/LagTV is the way to go. Each and every week we do a section of the podcast called Tech Support. For $10 more a month, you get a couple of perks over on Patreon, but chiefly, the big one for many people is being able to ask us questions each and every week for this segment, and we answer as many as we can with the time that we got. So let's see what we got this week. Logan asks, after the last time where somebody was asking about, where you take your family with the jet and everything, and you said, fuck it, back to Spain and whatever else, what other European country might you like to visit in the future? Rome.
100%.
Not far off. I mean, you could hop on a fucking bus or train.
Or, like one of the bullet trains and just give her.
Just give her. You're there. Marvelous. Gownson, who I always call, even though it's separated and it's Gown-san. Are there any topics that make you go, holy crap, did we make 250 podcast episodes without talking about that? I don't know. We've talked about a lot of shit on this podcast.
Yeah, I don't think so now. I think we've touched on just virtually every type of thing there is.
We have covered everything. Well, that's a lie, but we've covered a lot. Nothing that I can think of, anything that would have been painfully obvious, I think we got out of the way in the first 100 episodes of the podcast, because anytime you're starting a podcast like this, think about how we started it. We did the usual shit so that if there were people that didn't already know us that ended up watching the show, they have an idea of who they're listening to. So we did like the top 10 games, top 10 movies, etc., that whole deal, and we spent some time doing that kind of thing up front. And yeah, the tech support section really allows us to canvas a bunch of topics we wouldn't normally cover, and answer these questions as well about ourselves. And so, man, we've gone, I'm sure, you know what, I say this, and then like next week or the week after or whatever, somebody's going to ask a question, and it's going to be exactly what you're asking right now. It'll be like, how the fuck have we not, touched on this in the past? Okay, Seth says, COVID can eat a dick. Yes, it can. He's curled up in the fetal position, currently, with it himself. Has your significant other ever complained that you sometimes have the man flu? The man flu has been scientifically proven, by the way, so don't fuck with it.
The man flu.
Men experience flus differently than women do, and it's often why we seem to be overreacting when they happen.
I don't know. I'm not much of an overreactor. So, you know, if I'm feeling sick, I'm just usually laying in bed. If you ask me how I'm doing, I'm like, eh.
I get grumpy.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Bit. Yeah. But I'm not like, oh, I feel so bad.
Yeah. No.
Please help me. Please rub my back. I don't do any of that shit. I'm just like fucking salty as fuck laying in bed.
Yep.
Just...
Yeah, and like the only and I rarely get complaints because like I don't take painkillers or anything for anything. I have to be pretty fucked up before I take anything to cover myself. So if I'm complaining, it's usually they're not. She doesn't complain. She then knows that there's an actual problem, because if I'm actually going out of my way to mention that shit's fucked, it must be pretty fucked before I've talked about it. So. Yeah, I have not been. I mean, jokingly, sure, yes, like, oh, poor baby, and got you're thick, and but not like legitimately, like, suck it up. That's not come to pass. Oh, here you go. I'm sure Mr. Black will have some words for you here. Danish Devil, congrats on 250. Thank you. My boy's got his bachelor party this weekend. Any words of advice for him?
Words of advice for your bachelor party? For the
Or
groom?
I guess just in general, I don't know. Maybe he's also referencing that this is like, he's tying the knot.
Yeah, I mean, have fun. Don't cheat on your spouse.
That's a good start. That's a good entry level.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, true.
Have fun. Just enjoy the moment. Enjoy it with your boys. Don't take yourself too serious, and just have a good time, because it's going to be the last time that I'm not going to say it's going to be the last time you'll go party and stuff like that, but it'll be the last time that you're with your boys as, a single guy. Like, when I say single, as in like you're not. Once you tie the knot, that's it. If you get a girlfriend or even a fiance, like, you're not married yet. There's still a chance you can get out. If something goes bad, you can just say, that's it. I'm done. Once you get married, it's for better or for worse, right? Unless catastrophic shit happens. But go out and enjoy yourself. Have fun. Don't worry about what your wife or your soon-to-be wife is doing. She's going to go and have fun too. Enjoy it. Stay faithful. And get hammered if you drink. Or get really high if you smoke weed or whatever. And just,
or both at the same time.
Or both. Just have fun. Be safe, but have fun and let loose. It's your bachelor party.
There you go.
Get strippers.
But don't touch.
Don't touch.
Strippers, but don't touch. Roarins at 250. Oh my lord, where's the time gone? No kidding. Question for you guys: if you were able to try a job, any job at all, for a year, assuming it paid all your bills and then some, what would that job be?
Say it one more time.
If you could do any job for a year, and assuming that it would pay your bills and then some, so you weren't like, cutting your own dick off by losing all that money, what would that job be?
Honestly, I would probably go with couple that come to mind. See, the thing is, I wouldn't want to pick a job that I could see myself doing. Like, I'm not going to pick real estate because
You're already doing it.
I kind of am already doing it. But I mean, like, selling houses and shit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, my bills would get paid anyway. So I'm actually gonna go and say I'd be a server again. I would go wait tables. I probably wouldn't do it at, say, a Swiss Chalet. But maybe, and I wouldn't do really fine dining either. But
you're gonna work at Moxie's, is what you're saying.
Maybe something right in and around that, where it's kind of like a little bit more upscale, a little bit more in casual, but not too casual. And the reason why I picked that is because it's a job that, for one, I enjoyed when I did it. It's not that I hated serving food, but you get to meet a lot of people. The work life is usually pretty fun. You can hang out with whoever. And I think if I know that the bills are being paid, the stressful part of the job, I don't think would really affect me all that much anymore. I'd really be able to go to work and say, hey, this is just what I'm doing for the next year. I may as well have fun doing it. I'm crack some jokes, have some fun, try and get some tips, meet some people, hand out some business cards, just live that life, go out after a shift and have a couple drinks with your coworkers. It just sounds like a good time. It almost sounds like shit. You never know. I might serve again one day. Not because not for the money, but just, maybe I'll own a restaurant. Maybe I'll buy a restaurant or a franchise and be a partner in something, and then, live
Time
through
for
that.
a Boston pizza franchise, Mr. Black.
There you go.
Man, I don't know what that would be.
Like an everyday job just seems like a good time. I say that now because I don't have one.
Yeah.
But like, dude, I haven't worked a regular job in almost 11 years.
Yeah.
And like the thought of just like going to work with my apron and using that little system and going to a table and saying, hey, my name's Jeff. I'm going to be taking care of you today. By the way, can I start you guys off with anything to drink? Don't forget to take a look at our specials. What can I get for you? Like, dude, that's
the $1.21 tip returns.
Sounds like a good time.
Man, for a year, what would that be? I don't know. I think whatever I would want to do for a year. I don't want to say teaching because I've said that before. Do a similar thing to like a question, this kind of question. I think whatever it would be, I don't have a specific answer, but whatever it would be, I would want it to just be like physical, something physical. Because if I was going to do something for a year and I'm going to leave the house every single day and I'm going to be doing something routinely, I hate office work so much. I fucking hate it. I went to school assuming that I was going to be in one. I knew I was going to hate it. It was just that I chose that line because it was going to make money. It wasn't because I was dying to sit in an office and suck some manager's dick for like fucking 15 years. Like that wasn't my life dream. So yeah, I would something, whatever it would be, something physical. I think like jobs that I've had in the past that I enjoyed doing, but and wouldn't mind doing it again if it meant the money wasn't like so bad. I did when I was really young. One of my first jobs was taking care of a condominium complex, like the gardening work, the cleaning of everything, the painting, anything like that, just that general shit. I was left to my own devices. I just go there, headphones on, do some shit, talk to some people, and that was my day. As complicated as it got. And that was fine. Working with the kids, I'd do that again for a full year. And I'd do the summer camp stuff if it was like possible to drag that on for a year. Because the similar to you enjoying the working environment, the people that you work with, and the camaraderie that comes along with that, I enjoyed that aspect of that job a lot. It made the job a lot more fun. There's lots of stuff that I'd probably be perfectly fine with doing if it didn't pay like dog shit. I think, and I think that's probably fair to say for most people. Is like there's if more jobs that were considered looked down upon or were considered low, what's the term that they always use? Unskilled labor, which is the dumbest fucking. Like, take anyone that calls serving tables unskilled labor and put them in that environment for a day and watch them fucking crumble like a house of fucking cards. Like, just because you didn't have to go to university to learn how to serve tables doesn't mean you've got you don't have to actually acquire skills to do that job well. And I think everyone knows the difference between a good server and a bad server, for example, is a night and day experience.
I'm not sure
at
they
a
call
restaurant.
it low skill. I think it's more of like
the general term is unskilled labor, which is what they call it. And what they call a bunch of jobs. And usually that's like fast food joints, retail work, servers at restaurants, like sit-down restaurants. Things of that nature, janitorial stuff.
High turnover jobs, right? That's like,
well, they're high turnover because they're hellish for the money that they pay. Is pretty much it. Like anything that's like customer serving, like go work at like a retail place for a year and deal with customers, and for minimum wage, and you hate yourself because it's a nightmare. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that people would do. And care a lot less and be perfectly happy doing it if it meant that it paid reasonable money, not become a fucking multi-millionaire, but I think there's lots of jobs that are like that. That is kind of the implication is, yes, unskilled work is like a non-academic level thing, and not necessarily just meaning you went to university, but let's say, like if it was a trade, you still have to do some sort of schooling to become, like, let's say an electrician or some other thing like that. That's normally how they separate the two, and then as their justifications for calling it that. But there's that can get a little fucking messy. But either way, something like that, like as long as it's not in an office, get me the fuck out of an office. I didn't mind time in my in the office as far as like because I enjoyed the people I worked with, but actually physically being in an office, fuck that shit. It's fucking terrible. I'd rather mow lawns because at least I'm outside. Like literally anything that's not in an office, and then go home and you haven't seen the sun like the whole fucking day. You're just sitting in an office with no windows for 8 hours, and then you go home and you've got like 5 hours before your ass has to go back to sleep and wake up again. It's a miracle people aren't fucking yeeting themselves at office windows more frequently. If they had any windows in the first place, maybe that's the secret. No windows is what's keeping it all in check. What was the last movie or section or game section that gave you goosebumps? Asks Vulcus. Well, I'm gonna guess everything everywhere all at once might have given you one or two.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant video game. But
well, he said or segment in a game, so either
everything
one.
Everywhere at once. Yeah, for sure. Easy.
And yes, I would agree. As far as like a game goes, it's been a hot minute since I've had that. It's been a while. But Battlefield 2042, they're working on it. So, Call Deer. Last one comes in from Call Deer. Holy crap! Week 250, only 2,250 more weeks, 43 years to go before you can officially retire. We're getting there. It's close. In any case, last week I asked you about friends you'd like to have from fiction. How about 3 pets you'd like to have from fiction? My example would be Sindragosa from Warcraft, the zombie ice dragon. That's a hell of a pick. And Ursadon, which is like a giant space polar bear, and maybe a random Pokemon of some kind. Is there any fictional animals that you'd like to have as a pet? Fuck it, man. Just give me Pokemon, man. Let's be real. Pokemon would be fucking dope. Yeah, it's probably not going to be as rosy as the anime, because let's be real, all them out in the world, shit's probably going to get fucked on. Like, you're not going to have an 11-year-old going on a journey for like fucking 15 years by themselves out in the wilderness, not getting fucked up by some big-ass bear Pokemon. Nevertheless, I think that'd be dope. And you got your own stable of that shit. It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'll go with Pokemon too.
What's your favorite in that group?
I would definitely take a Bulbasaur.
For like the first original starters.
Yes.
Very strong against Brock. Good choice.
I would take a Bulbasaur. I would take a trying to think of one that would be like practical.
Practical Pokemon.
Yeah.
Rapidash.
I wouldn't want any fire type Pokemon. That just seems like a bad time.
Seems like an insurance problem.
I'll go with Alakazam, just because
Alakazam's my favorite Pokemon.
If I want to go to sleep or something, I'll be like, "Yo, bro, just."
Oh, no, you don't want Alakazam. I mean, he might be able to accomplish it. You want Drowsy.
No, but Alakazam's cooler. Like, I think Alakazam could put me to sleep, or like,
I'm sure he could
put me in a trance or something.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he could
zone me out.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't talk, right? I'm pretty sure he's like a mute. He doesn't say anything.
I can't remember if he even says his own name, like Pokemon saying that. I can't remember or not. Maybe, I don't know. But if he does, it's probably telepathy. It's probably not out loud.
Yeah, so I'll go with those two, and a third one, I'm gonna go with. Oh man. I'm gonna go with Diglett.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Diglett.
Get some landscaping done.
Just get it all done. He can sleep outside. It's one less Pokemon inside. They're cute. They don't really cause too much trouble. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Diglett.
Okay. I'm gonna go with 3 or 4 chickens from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and use them as protective agents for the property. Because as we all know, if any of them get attacked, they rain hell from above for long periods of time, and capable of killing the hero of time. If they can do that, well, they can do anything. So I'm going to go with 3 or 4 of those bad boys, Kukos. I'm also going to go, as far as like Pokemon goes, I'm going to say, hook me up with I was going to say, Alakazam. He is my favorite Pokemon. Let's do something flashy. Let's be bougie. Give me a god Pokemon. I'm gonna take Xerneas. I could technically just ride around on Xerneas, and then also, once again, it's just a god. So why wouldn't you want to have a god? Why not? And then the last, much more reasonable choice is, fucking just give me Growlithe. He's a fire type, but he's a dog, and also he's not on fire like many other fire types. He's not literally going to burn your house down just by standing in it. So. Safe choice. It's not like a Charmander where you're accidentally going to light the house on fire.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
That's a bad time. And shit,
or
as soon as
where shit's going to get wet.
True.
That's why I picked Bulbasaur.
True. Because I feel bad for him. Give me a Magikarp.
There you go.
Leave him out.
Magikarp. Just don't let him evolve.
That's
that'll be a bad time.
Now you got Hyper Beam problems, and that's a different bag of worms altogether. All right, ladies and gents, that's all we got for Technical for this week. Thank you very much for stopping by or checking this out in the RSS feeds. Hopefully this one makes it to the fucking RSS feeds, because last week, I don't know if you saw this, Mr. Black, on Twitter, posted multiple times now. Our distributor shit the bed, and it only sent to SoundCloud. And then I went with a bunch of support tickets for that, and they told me that there wasn't any media files attached to the episode on their back end. Which I then sent screenshots of me literally playing the file on their back end, and then also the screenshot of it having gone to SoundCloud. So it was on their system, it continues to be on their system, and it pushed to SoundCloud. And after I sent them that, they sent me the exact same message again. There is no media attached. So if you want to listen to last week's or the last podcast that we did, what you're going to have to do is check that out on SoundCloud or watch it on YouTube. One of those two, and then I'll hope that this doesn't also suffer the same fate. And if it does, well, then if that's the case, maybe I'll have to actually come up with a solution. But until next week, guys, stay safe out there. Thank you very much once again for stopping by, and until we see you, peace.